Welcome back to Stamps Old World UK, the home for collectors, history lovers, and anyone fascinated by the tiny pieces of paper that carry enormous stories. Today, we are diving deep into the history, design, and current market value of a true classic in philately, the United States 2-cent red postage stamp featuring the portrait of Thomas Jefferson. This iconic stamp is more than just a small rectangle of paper. It's a symbol of a specific era in American postal history, a piece of art, and for many collectors, a prized possession worth adding to their album. Issued in the early 20th century, this 2-cent stamp was part of a commemorative series celebrating the founders and great leaders of the United States. Its bold red coloration, detailed engraving, and central portrait of the third president, Thomas Jefferson, make it stand out among its contemporaries. The ornate frame, the laurel wreaths surrounding the denomination, and the precise typography are hallmarks of the high-quality printing methods of the time, produced by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. When we hold or view this stamp today, we are holding a tangible piece of history that once traveled across the country, and perhaps even the world, carrying letters, documents, and messages from a bygone era. Every single one of these stamps has its own story, whether it was stuck to a letter sent by a soldier writing home, a business transaction between cities, or a simple holiday greeting between families. For stamp collectors, also known as philatelists, this 2-cent Jefferson stamp remains an accessible yet highly collectible piece. Its value, however, depends heavily on several factors, including condition, rarity of the printing variation, centering of the design, presence of any perforation errors, and whether the stamp is mint or used. A mint condition stamp with original gum and no hinges is significantly more valuable than one that has been postmarked or has damage. Similarly, if the stamp comes from a rare printing variation, such as a shade difference or a perforation anomaly, its market value can multiply several times over. Now let's talk about the market value of this stamp in today's world. On the general collector's market in the United States, a common used example of the 2-cent red Jefferson stamp might fetch around $1 to $5, depending on its clarity and overall appearance. A mint condition example, well-centered with no defects, can typically range from $10 to $30. But here is where things get exciting for dedicated collectors. Certain variations, such as the scarce Type 1 or Type 2 issues, or examples with printing errors, can sell for anywhere between $100 and several $100s. In exceptional cases, with certificates of authenticity and perfect condition, a rare variation can even surpass $1,000 in specialized auctions, especially if it is sought after by thematic collectors who focus on U.S. presidential issues. It's important to remember that the stamp market, much like the coin market, is influenced by trends, collector demand, and the rarity of specific items coming up for sale. While common stamps may not yield high monetary returns, their true value lies in the history they preserve, the stories they tell, and the satisfaction they bring to those who appreciate them. Many collectors in the United Kingdom, Europe, and Asia actively seek these American classics to diversify their collections, and international interest helps keep demand stable. If you are considering buying or selling a 2-cent Jefferson stamp, the best approach is to consult reputable dealers, refer to updated stamp catalogs like Scott or Stanley Gibbons, and keep an eye on recent auction results to gauge realistic selling prices. Here on Stamps Old World UK, we believe that every stamp, regardless of its market price, carries an irreplaceable charm and historical significance. This 2-cent red Jefferson is no exception. Whether you own one as part of a family heirloom, discovered it in an inherited album, or purchased it at a stamp fair, it represents a bridge between past and present, a miniature work of art, and a reminder of a time when physical letters connected people across distances. And while some may view stamps purely as collectibles, we know that the joy of philately lies in the blend of artistry, history, and the thrill of discovery. Next up,
the 2-cent stamp featuring the profile portrait of Andrew Jackson, the 7th President of the United States. This particular design, printed in a distinctive red-brown or reddish-buff shade, is a part of the classic late 19th century U.S. stamp issues and is celebrated not only for its elegant engraving, but also for the remarkable historical context it represents. When you look closely at this stamp, you will see the intricate frame design that surrounds the finely detailed bust of Andrew Jackson facing left in profile. The words U.S. postage appear in a curved arch above, while the denomination 2 cents is prominently displayed at the bottom. The artistry of this stamp is a perfect example of the craftsmanship of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing during this era, with precision line work, symmetrical ornamental patterns, and a rich, dignified color that immediately sets it apart from modern mass-printed issues. It was originally issued during a time when letter postage rates in the United States made the 2-cent denomination extremely common for sending standard domestic letters, meaning that millions of these stamps once traveled across the nation on personal correspondence, business letters, and important documents. Each surviving example today carries a unique history. Some still attached to envelopes with beautiful circular date stamps, some with light cancellations barely marring the portrait, and a rare few preserved in pristine mint condition with full original gum. For collectors, the market value of this 2-cent Andrew Jackson stamp varies widely, depending on several important factors. A heavily used example with a common cancellation and average centering might be valued today at around $1 to $3, making it an accessible piece for beginner collectors. However, a well-centered, lightly canceled version can reach values of $10 to $20, and in mint condition, with perfect gum and no hinge marks, it can sell anywhere from $25 to $100, depending on demand. But here's where it gets more exciting for advanced philatelists. There are known printing variations, shade differences, and perforation anomalies for this stamp, and these rarities can command far higher prices. A scarce color variety or an error such as an inverted center or misperforation could easily push the value into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction, especially when accompanied by a certificate of authenticity from a respected philatelic expertising service. In recent years, collectors have been paying more attention to 19th century classic U.S. stamps because they combine historical importance, high-quality engraving, and the charm of early postal history. That means stamps like this 2-cent Andrew Jackson not only hold their value but may appreciate over time as more people enter the hobby and seek out well-preserved examples. Beyond market value, the real magic of this stamp lies in the connection it provides to the past. Imagine the world in which it was issued, the late 1800s, when trains and horse-drawn carriages were still primary modes of transportation, when telegraphs were a marvel of instant communication, and when letters carried by the postal service were the lifeline of news, business, and personal relationships. Every time you look at this stamp, you are not just seeing ink on paper, you are holding a tangible link to that era. Collectors in the United Kingdom and around the world appreciate these stamps not only as artifacts, but as works of art that tell a story about the people, politics, and printing technology of their time. At Stamps Old World UK, we always remind our viewers that while the price of a stamp can be measured in dollars, its true worth is in the history it carries and the enjoyment it brings to those who study and collect it.
Next up, the most iconic and historically rich United States postage stamps ever issued, the beautiful 2-cent red stamp, featuring the profile of George Washington, the first president of the United States and one of the most admired figures in American history. This stamp, instantly recognizable for its bold red-orange hue and classic engraved portrait, is not only a piece of postal history, but also a symbol of leadership, independence, and the birth of a nation. Issued in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, this particular design became a cornerstone of American philately because the 2-cent denomination was the standard rate for mailing a first-class letter within the United States for many years, which meant millions were printed and used, traveling across the country and sometimes across oceans. The artistry of the stamp is a testament to the skills of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing at that time. The finely engraved portrait of Washington facing left is surrounded by an ornate oval frame with the words United States Postage arching proudly across the top and the denomination 2 cents at the bottom in a graceful ribbon-like banner. The deep red-orange ink was chosen not just for its visual appeal, but also for its visibility on envelopes, ensuring postal workers could quickly identify the correct postage. But, as with all stamps, not all examples are equal in the eyes of collectors, and this is where the story becomes truly fascinating. The market value of this stamp today can range from less than $1 for a heavily used and poorly centered example to several $100s or more for a mint-condition, perfectly centered and well-preserved specimen. Lightly canceled examples with sharp details and vibrant color are often valued higher by collectors, especially when the postmark itself adds historical interest. For serious philatelists, the real treasures are in the varieties and errors. Changes in shade from bright carmine to deep rose, double impressions, misperforations, and rare printing plate flaws can make an otherwise common stamp a highly desirable rarity worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Auction records show that certain perfectly preserved mint-condition examples with pristine gum have sold for impressive sums, and some color variety specimens certified by expert organizations like the Philatelic Foundation have reached the high hundreds. The stamp also holds value beyond money. It is a tangible link to the early decades after the American Civil War, a time of rapid growth, industrial expansion, and national unity. Imagine the letters these stamps once carried: news from soldiers returning home, family greetings traveling across vast prairies, business agreements that help build cities, and love letters that cross states long before telephones and emails. For collectors in the United Kingdom and around the world, owning this stamp is like holding a small piece of American history in the palm of your hand. At Stamps Old World UK, we often say that the beauty of collecting lies not just in the rarity or value of a stamp, but in the way it connects us to the past, and the 2-cent George Washington stamp is a perfect example. Whether you are a beginner who just discovered this design in a family album or an advanced collector hunting for rare varieties, there is something endlessly rewarding about studying its details, learning its history, and appreciating its place in the story of postage. The timeless portrait of George Washington reminds us not only of the man himself, but also of the enduring ideals he stood for: leadership, integrity, and dedication to his country. And while prices in the market may rise and fall, the historical and cultural significance of this stamp will never fade. So whether your stamp is worth $1 or $1,000, it is worth treasuring, preserving, and sharing with others who understand the magic of philately. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history and market value of the 2-cent George Washington stamp, be sure to subscribe to Stamps Old World UK for more fascinating stories from the world of postage stamps, where history is always just one small piece of paper away.